I'd like to call the special call meeting of the Henry County Board of Education to order for the purpose of our public tax hearing number 3, and turn it over to Dr. Davis for the presentation.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the board. Tonight is our final of 3 required tax hearings by the Board of Education. And to begin tonight's tax hearing, I'd like to turn it over to our Chief Financial Officer, Ms. Christy Willis. Ms. Willis.
Thank you, and good evening, Mr. Chair, members of the board, and Superintendent Davis. Before I begin with kind of the information about Know Your Digest, I just want to have a special thank you to our tax commissioner, Mr. Michael Harris, as well as Mrs. Lynn Carty from the tax commissioner's office, who's joining us this evening. Without their partnership, we could not do what we do every day for the collection of these taxes for our core business of student learning. So I just wanted to take a moment to say thank you so much to our tax commissioner's office. It is important to understand that relationship of property taxes and the district budget. So if you'll help me this evening and pull up that PowerPoint for us, I appreciate that. And on that second page, JD, if you'll go ahead and slide over to that one for me, thanks. Because I want to talk about today's objectives. We have shown this PowerPoint. This is the third and final tax hearing we have. But what we would like to do this evening is review our millage rate, a definition of that, the types and the impact to property tax. Also, we want to review the board's role in setting the millage rates and a little bit about our digest history. We would also like to review the impact of the adopted millage rate to the FY21 investments here for Henry County Schools. And of course, we definitely want to gather the community input via public participation during this tax hearing, as well as the other 2 that we've hosted in the last week. So let's talk about the basics for a minute. And what is a millage rate and how do you read it? So it's a tax rate that is multiplied against assessed value of taxable property to calculate the amount of property tax owed. The millage rate is usually stated as dollars per thousand. So the millage rate of 5 mills is basically $5 per thousand of assessed value. So Henry County Schools has 2 millage rate types. The first is the maintenance and operation, which is commonly known as the M&O rate. This tax levy generates funding for the home of our daily operations, which is our general fund. The second is the bond millage. So it's much like when you, the community, would finance your home long-term. School systems finance large capital outlay projects with the sale of bonds. And the proceeds of the bond millage repays this long-term debt. So millage rates are established each year by county, city, and school districts. The millage rates are published in a tax digest, which is a document that establishes tax districts and defines property types subject to taxation. So I'm going to show you an example here. It takes an assessed property value of $80,000. For that, with a millage rate of 20, it generates for Henry County Schools $1,600 in property tax revenue. It's important to understand that the growth and decline of the assessed property value has a significant impact on the way the school systems budget. While millage rates may be increased or decreased, the assessed values are equally important. An assessed property values rise, the millage rates remain the same. A property tax increase will occur. The Taxpayer Bill of Rights reduction was enacted to prevent indirect tax increases discretely caused by property value growth. So Georgia law requires these hearings and other public notices if the millage rate is not reduced. So let's talk about Henry County Schools maintenance and operations, or M&O millage rate. So our millage rate has been maintained since 2007. So we want to look to the left of the slide. What you will see is from 2009 through 2012, in just 4 short years, Henry County's tax digest plunged 36%. It took 6 years for the tax digest to recover and be comparable to a decade ago. We also have to remember Henry County has some of the most generous exemptions in the state, which is partly why we have one of the best counties to live in. These exemptions are, though, unrealized revenues for investment in our learners. The right side of the slide shows just how the value of a meal is so important. Unlike state revenues that are based on consistent formulas for all of our Georgia public schools, county tax digests are not created equal. We have the 10 largest school systems presented here. We have combined Atlanta Public Schools and Fulton County Schools. So let's look at the last system shown, which is Chatham County. You can see their millage rate is less than Henry County. However, the value is higher and generates more revenue. So going back to the left side of the same slide, what does this tax year's value increase mean? So the increase is estimated at 6.5% of the rollback rate, or the rate that would generate the same amount of revenue in the previous year. So as an example, for a Henry County property owner with a standard exemption of $4,000, the increase will be approximately $8.75 each month. This increases because the value of their property increased, not an increase in the millage rate. So local revenue has historically made up about 39% of the general fund. However, school systems across Georgia are facing declines in state revenue, and local funding is now more vital than ever. Our local revenue, which is largely made up of these property taxes, will make up more than 44% of the general fund revenue for fiscal year 21. Our strong local economy, along with your commitment to sound fiscal management, is allowing us to build an FY21 budget that's going to weather the austerity reductions we are facing in state revenue allotments. So I'll wrap up with these final points. The fiscal year 21 budget maintains the existing millage rates. As you can see here on the slide, the maintenance and operation is 20 mills, and the bond millage is 3.628 mills. Applying the millage rate to a higher assessed property value will result in a property tax increase. You as a board have been clear that the budget will be student-centered, and our core business of student learning will continue to be our focus as we build this budget. Dr. Davis, that does conclude what I have prepared today.
Thank you, Ms. Willis. Mr. Chair, that does conclude what we have prepared, but we do remain available for any discussion. So Madam Vice Chair, it looks like the chair may be having a technical difficulty. So could I just turn it over to you for any discussion?
Yes, no problem. Does any board member have any questions or comments on the millage rate? Mrs. Edwards?
Yeah, thank you. I don't have a question, but I just want to commend Ms. Willis for the report. It's very detailed and thorough for the citizens who are watching. And I appreciate that because you have presented information for them, even for myself being on the board for the last 6 years. This was a very good presentation with explanations for everything that's included in the tax hearing today. So I just want to thank you for all the information that you actually put together to present at this meeting so that the citizens who are watching could better understand the millage rate as well as the increase in taxes. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm back, Ms. Cobb, unless you just want to keep going. Sorry, it wouldn't unmute. I don't know what was wrong with it. Are there any other questions or comments for Mrs. Willis or Dr. Davis? All right, Dr. Davis, do you want to check and see if we have any questions from our community?
Sure. Mr. Hardin, are you able to see if, or walk our attendees through any questions they might have?
I see we have 3 attendees on today's webinar, and none at the moment have facilitated or populated any questions. So we'll give them just a quick second. For those who are on the call, if they have a question pertaining to the millage rate information that Ms. Willis shared this evening, this is your time to ask that. Otherwise, we'll move on here shortly to the next portion of today's agenda. So we'll give them just a second. And for those, just in case, that are on the call, there no questions. Great presentation of understanding by Ms. Willis. So thank you, Ms. Baker, for that comment. We love to share those positive comments. Please tell all your friends. But thank you for that. And again, Ms. Willis, you did a great job presenting that information. All right, it doesn't look like there are any further questions at the moment or comments.
All right, I don't think we can take the vote until 6:15. So we will have to sit here and look at each other's pretty faces until 6:15.
And of course, Mr. Hinton, for those that are also still on the call, we do, I mean, if they in the next couple minutes have a question, we will entertain those questions as well. So.
Mrs. Edwards, do you have a question? You're on mute.
Hold on just one second, Mrs. Edwards. There you go.
Okay, I just wanted to know, does it show you how many citizens has joined this call?
It does, yes, ma'am. We had 3 individuals. Well, we actually had 5 individuals registered to participate on this webinar, and 3 of them have joined us this evening to participate. And then, of course, we do have the YouTube stream that we shared out, of course, across our social media channels, as well as websites, so people could tune in and view the meetings that way. So we have made it public for people to view. And of course, if they're not able to watch, they can always go back and check out all the happenings of our wonderful board and the actions they took at each of their meetings.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
All right, thank you, Mrs. Edwards. Verizon tells me it's 6:15, so we can take the vote now. Do I have a motion to adopt the following millage rates for the 2020-2021 school year? Maintenance and operations millage rate of 20 mills and school bond millage rate of 3.628 mills. Mrs. Edwards has a motion. Is there a second? Mrs. Pope, all in favor of approving the millage rates as stated, please raise your hand. All right, the millage rates have been approved. And Dr. Davis, is that all the business we have before the board this afternoon?
There's no other business before the board.
All right, thank everybody for tuning in. And if that's it,